On the day I passed away, my boyfriend introduced his first love to our home. They shared a kiss on the couch I had purchased. He ate the celery dumplings I had prepared and played with the gaming console I had gifted him. One day, his first love curiously inquired, "Where is Anne?" Calmly, my boyfriend responded, "She had an argument with me a few days back and has applied for a business trip through her company." Little did he know, I had already died. It was Alex's birthday when I was involved in a car crash on my way home and died instantly. My spirit lingered, floating above, yearning to see Alex one last time. All I saw was Alex with his first love, Eva, returning home. Under the dim lights, Eva's fair complexion was flushed, appearing as though she were intoxicated, clinging to Alex like a lifeless shadow. Alex held her firmly by the waist, gently brushing away her disheveled hair and responding with patience. Although Alex was typically distant, he showed unexpected tenderness towards her. Despite my acceptance of the situation, my heart ached. Since learning about Eva's divorce, Alex had become increasingly distracted, coming home less frequently and growing colder towards me. I discovered that Eva's ex-husband's company had gone bankrupt, and he had fled with the funds. After the divorce, Eva found out she was pregnant, and debt collectors began harassing her daily, causing her to fear miscarrying multiple times. Recently, Alex had been by her side in the hospital. I had argued with Alex because he wanted to bring Eva home to care for her. Eva's parents had once helped me, and I couldn't stand to see her suffer. My eyes welled up red, and Alex was silent for a moment before abruptly extinguishing his cigarette. I declared, "I want to marry you, Anna. What are you so worried about?" In reality, Alex knew what I was feeling, but chose to ignore it. That night, overwhelmed by my emotions, I broke up with him for the first time. Alex's demeanor darkened as he dragged me into the bathroom without a word, turning on the shower. "Do you understand what you just said?" I cried, clinging to him. His tall silhouette loomed over me as he tore off his shirt and bit my lips almost as a form of punishment. "Anna, never leave me," he whispered as cold water poured over my head, his hot breath against my neck. His face was blurry as he murmured, "Ava is only staying temporarily. I'll send her away once the police locate her ex-husband. It's impossible for her and me to be together." I gasped, struggling and pleading with my eyes shut. "If you want me to agree, I'd rather die." And so, I truly died as Alex took Eva away. I observed Alex placing the intoxicated Eva on the sofa, gently wiping her face with a warm towel. "You're pregnant. You shouldn't drink so much," he said in a deep yet tender voice, reminiscent of how he'd scold her for not paying attention in class. Eva mumbled something about having a headache, unsure if he heard her. Alex chuckled softly, helped her sit up, and placed his delicate fingers on her forehead, massaging from her brow to the back of her ear and her temples with gentle pressure. It was a heartwarming scene that made my heart tighten and momentarily stop before snapping back to reality. At that moment, I had just graduated from college. Alex's grandmother had passed away, and Ava's parents disapproved of their relationship due to Alex's family circumstances, forcing Ava into an arranged marriage. I stood by Alex through those dark 6 months, gradually winning his acceptance. Half a year later, he accepted my confession. He then decided to start his own business, frequently attending social events and drinking. I supported him by wiping his face, preparing nourishing soup, and caring for him throughout the night. The next morning, exhausted and with dark circles under my eyes, Alex gazed at me for a long time before sighing and asking me to lie on his lap for a massage. Flattered and comforted by his gentle touch, I jokingly told him he shouldn't massage others in the future. "Okay," he replied regretfully as I was about to apologize. From above, I heard his soft laugh. "It's okay. How could it ever involve someone else?" I realized I had become an exception for Alex. She had been his favorite from the beginning to the end. Suddenly, I felt the urge to leave. I couldn't bear to watch Alex massage Ava. What if they rekindled their past love, hugged, or even kissed? The thought sent sharp pain through my chest, like ants crawling up my back. Restless, I rushed to the door, but as soon as my hand touched the handle, an excruciating pain, worse than falling from a cliff or being crushed in the accident, surged through me. I couldn't scream, as my body was forcefully pulled back. After several attempts, my face turned pale and cold sweat drenched me. I realized I couldn't leave the room or Alex. I lost all strength and continued to watch them. Alex had finished massaging Eva and was about to leave when Eva grabbed his neck. She looked into his eyes and asked directly, "Alex, do you still have feelings for me?" Alex glared at her. "I hate you," he replied. Eva's face paled as his hand covered her face, his fingertips tracing slowly as he sighed. "But I have never forgotten you," she sneered. "What about Anna? She's been with you for 5 years. How do you feel about her?" Alex was momentarily speechless, his expression changing as he glanced at Anna. Eva tilted her head slightly and kissed the corner of his mouth. Alex stiffened, but only for a moment before pulling her onto his thigh and deepening the kiss. Nausea washed over me, and I covered my mouth, fearing my emotions would betray me. "Alex, he has already left me. Please don't abandon me. I don't want to be alone," Eva pleaded against his lips. "I know you only feel grateful and guilty toward her. The one you truly love is me," she continued, kissing his collarbone before reaching to unbutton his shirt. Alex pressed her hand down firmly, his voice turning icy cold, his eyes devoid of warmth. A chill emanated from him, making my soul shiver despite my inability to feel temperature. Eva stared at him, confused by his rejection. "It's because of Anna," she said while I watched helplessly, my heart racing uncontrollably. Alex remained silent for a moment before looking away. "Eva, I have a girlfriend now, and this isn't good for you." Eva understood and offered a faint smile. "I'll wait for you." I realized that before our breakup, Alex and Eva hadn't engaged in any inappropriate behavior. It wasn't a reflection of his character or how much he respected me as his official girlfriend. He simply didn't want Eva to bear any shame or moral judgment. He cherished and loved her deeply, even as he laughed through tears. After soothing Eva to sleep, Alex smoked alone on the balcony. Tall and graceful, he blended almost seamlessly into the night, only his scarlet fingertips visible as he repeatedly flicked his cigarette, a sign of his distress. I was forced to float less than 2 meters away, watching him coldly. He had confessed his feelings to Eva, yet I couldn't understand why he was still upset. Actually, we haven't broken up yet, I thought. It was probably due to what had just happened, leaving him dissatisfied. Suddenly, his phone rang. Alex answered almost immediately, his dark eyes fixated on the screen. A hint of disappointment flashed across his face, making me feel uneasy. I floated behind him, peering at the screen, and was shocked to see that Alex had opened our WeChat chat. Since our big fight, we hadn't spoken. The last message was from me. "Alex, your birthday is in 7 days. What gift would you like?" Perhaps he was too busy with work or taking care of Eva in the hospital, so he hadn't responded. Alex's fingers scrolled through WeChat absent-mindedly, hoping for a reply. Before I knew it, he had sent a message. "Alex, it's 11:30. It took me a moment to realize he was referring to 11:30 p.m., and his birthday was almost over. For 5 consecutive years, I never missed his birthday. I always prepared longevity noodles and celery dumplings for him. This year, however, I didn't wish him a happy birthday, and I've decided not to do so again. In the future, I won't speak of it because I won't be around." Alex lingered on the balcony for half an hour before returning to the living room, his demeanor noticeably colder. His face had taken on a harsh expression as he glared at his phone for a couple of seconds before tossing it onto the sofa in frustration. He then took a sizable step towards the refrigerator, retrieving a bag of celery dumplings I had made but left unfinished last time. Without showing any emotion, he cooked them and sat down at the dining table. He ate quietly, his gray smoke veiling his brows and making him appear even more detached and distant. Watching him eat, a thought suddenly crossed my mind. Maybe Alex still cares about me a little. I was taken aback and realized that today wasn't actually his birthday. His real birthday was a week ago, but on that day, 5 years prior, his grandmother had passed away and Eva had left him. Since then, Alex had refused to celebrate his birthday. I had suggested postponing his birthday by a week and had always been eager to help him celebrate. As an orphan, my birthday was once the happiest time of the year, and I just wanted to bring him happiness. The first time I helped him celebrate, I spent months secretly learning his favorite game, planning to stay up all night to play with him. Instead, I ended up falling asleep on his lap at 2 a.m. When I woke up, Alex was holding me close. His usually cold demeanor softened by a smile throughout the night. The second time, I prepared an elaborate meal, but ended up cutting my fingers while cooking. In the end, we only ate longevity noodles and celery dumplings. Alex, who was typically reserved, actually praised the dumplings several times. I had always enjoyed supporting him, ensuring that whatever I cooked was both healthy and delicious. Alex had once asked why I were so kind to him, and I had simply smiled and confessed that it was because I genuinely liked him. Before I could continue, Alex had gently kissed me, revealing his hidden emotions for the first time. That night, we were both inexperienced, exploring each other, but he seemed to have learned to express his feelings on his own, holding me close until the early hours. As time went on, our deep connection left a lasting impression on his heart. A ding-dong sound snapped me out of my thoughts. Alex seemed dazed and didn't notice the spoon he had dropped. I reached out to pick it up, but my hand passed right through it. For a moment, I was stunned until another hand lifted the spoon. "What are you eating?" Eva's soft voice echoed in the house. I looked down at my hands, noticing how blurred and intangible they had become, contrasting with Eva's slender, delicate hands. I felt a pang of inadequacy. Before my death, I could cook a full meal and play games effortlessly, but now I couldn't even touch anything. Eva brought another spoon and gently stirred the dumplings in Alex's bowl. Alex frowned slightly but responded, "Celery." Eva nodded indifferently and looked up at him, asking why he hadn't mentioned it was his birthday today. Alex seemed momentarily confused. Eva smiled warmly and explained that she had seen his chat history and noticed his lock screen password hadn't changed. It was the date they first met, August 2nd. Alex lowered his head, his eyes showing no emotion. My heart ached as I remembered how I had once pleaded with him to change his lock screen to the day we became a couple, but he had always refused. It turned out that he had kept it as a secret between us because 5 years ago, many unfortunate events had occurred on that day. Eva continued, mentioning that she had made the dumplings specifically for his birthday and had kept her promise to celebrate it with him. Alex didn't respond, and the room fell silent. Eva quickly picked up a dumpling and expressed her desire to eat it, but I shouted at the top of my lungs, reaching out to grab her spoon. My hand couldn't make contact as Alex gently held her wrist and whispered a warning. Eva met his gaze and reiterated her wish to celebrate every birthday with him. She was pushing him to make a choice. Alex's jaw tightened, and a flicker of struggle appeared in his dark eyes. After an uncertain moment, he let go of Eva's hand, allowing her to eat the dumplings as she wished. I watched in despair, tears streaming down my face, feeling as though my heart was being torn apart. Recently, I had been keeping to myself, observing them from a distance, seemingly devoid of emotions. But perhaps it was just my imagination. After what happened that day, Alex had become much colder towards Eva. Aside from playing games, they had no other intimate interactions, and he even avoided her touch deliberately. One day, Eva asked where I was, and Alex calmly replied that we had argued a few days ago and that he had applied for a business trip. Eva smiled and suggested that maybe I had wanted to break up with him long ago. Alex's expression darkened, firmly denying it. Unbeknownst to him, I was already gone. The following day, Alex received the ring I had sent him. 3 days earlier, during our engagement, a month ago, Alex and I had gone out to dinner. Midway through the meal, the man across from me suddenly stood up, took out a ring, and knelt on one knee. Dressed in a sharp suit, he looked noble and handsome, though his fingers appeared slightly pale from nervousness. People around us cheered as he smiled warmly, his eyes burning with love, and asked me to marry him. I cried, my eyes red as I trembled while placing the ring on my finger. That night was filled with passion as we held each other, watching the broken lights sway above us. As an orphan, I had been adopted by a couple who later had a son. A year after, they sent me back, accusing me of stealing when I was just hungry and ate my brother's leftover chicken legs. This led to suspicions at school, and when Alex defended me, I held him dear. Eventually, I was adopted by a less affluent couple who treated me well, but I remained cautious, only taking small portions of food. When they died in a car accident on their way to a parent-teacher meeting, I returned to the orphanage where no one wanted to adopt me anymore. My name is Anna, and I've always longed for a real family." When Alex proposed, I thought I had finally found one. But Eva returned, not doing well, and instead of thinking of her parents, she turned to Alex, my fiancé. Eva had been trying to reconcile, even wanting to move in and take care of her after our unpleasant separation. I decided to take a business trip to Hangzhou, and after a week of consideration, sent the engagement ring back via express delivery. I wanted to end things with him. When Alex received the ring today, his face turned as gloomy as if water could seep out, his eyes covered with an unmelting layer of ice. He continued to bombard me with messages and phone calls, probing into the meaning behind my words. As he lit one cigarette after another, his demeanor grew increasingly cold and stern. The tension between his brows was palpable, nearly spilling over, while persistent notifications from the other side informed me that the call wouldn't connect until he finished smoking all the cigarettes in the pack. Lowering his gaze, he whispered softly, "Anna, are you truly going to leave me?" "Yes, I have left completely. You can finally be with Eva if that's what you want," I responded gently, even though he might not hear me. A sudden realization struck me. I am also decisive. I had returned his ring and ended our relationship, but why did I hasten to come back for his birthday celebration? Reflecting on it, I felt like I had overlooked something crucial. I noticed that Alex's moments of distraction were lengthening. At night, while working in his study, Eva thoughtfully brought him coffee. Alex didn't look up and abruptly said, "It's too late now. You should go to bed first." Eva stared at him blankly, and Alex seemed equally taken aback. He softly apologized, then rubbed his eyebrows as if concealing something. He appeared to be in a trance, fixated on his plans, ignoring Eva's presence. The next day, Eva entered Alex's bedroom to tidy up. Whether intentional or not, she quietly packed her belongings and accidentally knocked over the Lego set we had built together. Seeing this, Alex rarely looked her way, saying, "Don't touch these," before shaking her hand and methodically reassembling the scattered blocks, focusing intently for hours. Eva watched silently as Alex often became distracted around her, whether it was the sunflowers I had planted on the balcony, the clothes I bought for him in the closet, or the little goldfish I kept in the tank. Even during conversations with Eva, when she mentioned certain words, Alex would suddenly freeze. I floated above the scene, calmly observing Eva's increasingly pale face. It wasn't just Eva. I realized Alex was also becoming distant, and my own feelings were gradually becoming clear. Squinting, I looked at the man I had loved all my life sitting on the sofa. He seemed slightly intoxicated, his brows furrowed, and a blush tinged his handsome face as he spoke on the phone with his friend Zachary. "Do you want Anna or Eva?" Zachary asked. After a moment of silence, Alex replied, "Anna has broken up with me, so it's Eva." He frowned subconsciously, sensing that the other side had caught on. It seemed that Alex believed people have limited capacity for love, reserving it for only one person. "Go find Anna," Zachary urged. Alex didn't respond, simply lowering his head and gently touching his engagement ring. I watched him silently for a long time. If I had witnessed this in the past, I might have felt happy, but now irritation gnawed at me like an ant drilling into my heart, deepening my frustration and overwhelming me with inexplicable emotions. Zachary suggested that Alex send Eva to her parents, and Alex agreed, even purchasing a plane ticket for her to go to where I was on a business trip. That day, it seemed he intended to discuss this with Eva. Upon returning home, Eva presented him with soup. Although she had always been indifferent to worldly matters, she had prepared a lavish dinner that evening, including fresh celery dumplings. "It's my fault. I pressured you to make a choice. I was just too scared of losing you. I didn't want to get married back then, but my mother threatened to commit suicide. During the 5 years I was married to someone else, I thought about you every day," she said, wearing my apron and looking at Alex with pity. Tears streamed down her face, her eyes reddened as if smeared with rouge. "I know Eva is in your heart now, but I can wait for you. Don't push me away," she implored, wrapping her arms around his waist and burying her face in his chest, clutching his clothes tightly. Her voice was broken and distressed. "At least stay with me for a while. I'll leave when she returns, okay?" Alex remained silent, neither pushing her away nor accepting her plea. He sighed softly, gently wiping her tears. "Don't cry anymore. It's not good for the child." His softened demeanor brought a dull pain to my heart, and a bitter resentment surged through me. How much love does one need to endure repeated disappointments? Over the past 5 years, I had exhausted all my efforts to care for him wholeheartedly, barely securing a place in his heart. Yet, he merely shed a few tears and compromised. After learning that Eva would stay a bit longer, Zachary looked troubled. "Aren't you afraid Anna might actually leave you?" he asked. Alex stood tall, his expression unchanged. "Eva and I are just friends for now. When Anna calms down and comes back, Eva will have left. She won't be aware," he responded before Zachary ceased talking. I watched all of this impassively, curious to see how Alex would act once he realized I was gone. These days, Alex spent time with Eva as planned. Their relationship remained strictly platonic, much like that of regular friends. I kept trying to remember what I had forgotten and why I had hurried back to celebrate his birthday. I sensed that once I recalled it, my soul would finally be free from Alex, but each attempt only brought excruciating pain to my head. Just when I felt disheartened, Alex took Eva to the mall and noticed baby products. Eva pulled him aside, picked up a princess dress, covered her mouth, and smiled. "I really hope I'm pregnant so I can buy her all sorts of beautiful dresses." "Do you want a boy or a girl?" Eva asked curiously. "Daughter," Alex replied, his lips slightly curling into a smile. His eyes lingered on the baby items under the sunlight, his dark pupils shimmering with light, appearing somewhat gentle. "Anna likes it," he added. "I love whatever she gives birth to." I stood there in shock as memories flooded my mind, my head splitting open with countless images rushing in like wild horses. I couldn't determine how much time had passed before I collapsed to the ground, motionless, crying and laughing simultaneously. Placing my hands on my lower abdomen, trembling, I realized why I had hurried back to celebrate Alex's birthday and wanted to give our relationship another chance. I was pregnant. After receiving the diagnosis, I had spent a night contemplating and decided to have an honest conversation with Alex. The night before his birthday, I rushed over intending to present him with this news as a gift. In the car, I stroked my belly, imagining Alex's reaction. Would he laugh? Probably not. He always maintained an expressionless face. At best, he might slightly lift the corners of his lips and look at me seriously. "Anna, I'm actually very happy you're pregnant," he might say, looking forward to the child as much as I did. Perhaps on the night of our engagement, he had whispered into my ear, "After we get married, let's have a child." "I always knew you wanted a big family." "Yes, I want a large family," I had responded. How could Alex understand me so well? I laughed to myself, but the driver, noticing my amusement in the rearview mirror, asked what I was laughing about. I didn't respond, simply smiled and urged him to stay focused on the road. It was raining heavily outside, making the journey rather dull. I resisted the urge to message Alex directly and began browsing Weibo instead, only to discover that someone was following me. Eva. I opened her Weibo account and saw that she had posted numerous photos of Alex, showcasing how he had been caring for her during her pregnancy, and how their old flame was rekindling step by step, much like a typical young couple who had just had a child. "The injection hurts, but I'm not afraid with you by my side." The photo displayed Alex's profile and their clasped hands. "After all the ups and downs, you're still the best for me." Another picture showed Alex, always meticulous, peeling shrimp for her. "You fell asleep by the bed last night, and I kissed you secretly." I realized I wasn't actually asleep. These Weibo posts lacked any photos, yet Alex had liked them. I stared at the screen, my heart tightening as blood rushed to my head. How many inappropriate things do people need to witness in their lives? I no longer wished to see them. At the edge of a cliff, a massive red truck suddenly lost control and crashed directly into us. We tumbled down the cliff with the truck before it exploded. I had rushed towards it with hope and joy, but ended up dying filled with despair and hatred. The intense trauma caused me to temporarily lose part of my memory, but the overwhelming hatred made my soul detach from my body and follow Alex. I realized I couldn't leave him because my love for him was so strong, yet I despised him as I lay dying with a baby inside me. What was Alex up to? He was caring for others and their children. Maybe he sensed something. Alex was conversing with Eva when suddenly he frowned and glanced around subconsciously but saw nothing. At that moment, his phone rang. Zachary's shaky voice came through the line. "Alex, I need to tell you something. Don't get too excited. I have a brother who's a traffic cop. There was a major accident over there. Everyone involved, the driver and passengers, didn't survive. It wasn't until today that they identified the pregnant woman as Anna. I had imagined countless scenarios of how Alex would respond upon learning of my death. Now, witnessing it firsthand, he was simply chatting and laughing with his first love. Upon receiving the news, he was momentarily stunned, frowning. "Don't joke about this, it's true," Alex exclaimed after a few seconds of shock. "A week ago, the taxi you were in collided with a truck, fell off a cliff, and exploded. Only a few body parts were found at the scene, and the police didn't receive a missing person report from the pregnant woman's family for a week. Zachary was overwhelmed, unable to continue. After 7 days, the police confirmed Anna's identity through DNA. Alex's demeanor changed. He became rigid, almost like a wooden statue. Alex, she was pregnant. Did you know? You lost contact for a week? Didn't you search for her?" Zachary questioned. Alex's face turned pale, and his lips quivered uncontrollably. No, you're lying," Alex protested. Eva looked at him with concern and gently took his hand. Zachary paused on the phone, his tone unclear. Was it sarcastic or mocking? "Are you even there now? Anna was missing for a week, and you were with her." Alex was shocked and immediately pushed Eva's hand away forcefully. His eyes reddened and his expression tightened, resembling a child guilty of wrongdoing. "Her body is at the funeral home. The police informed her family to collect it. You can go there later." Zachary remained silent for a long time. "She has no family, only you." Alex stood motionless, his tall frame suddenly slumping slightly. Then he slowly crouched down, curled up, and remained still, repeating the word impossible over and over. He seemed unable to accept that I was dead. I watched the scene with indifference and happiness. Once my memory returned, I felt an intense hatred toward him that nearly consumed me. But after the satisfaction of revenge, a relentless fatigue and sorrow filled my heart. Love and hate are exhausting. I am too weary to live and too tired to die. After regaining my memory, I didn't vanish immediately, though my soul became slightly more transparent. I remained attached to Alex, but my presence extended a bit further. I followed him to the funeral home. The man who usually kept his emotions in check now stood stiffly at the entrance, not daring to approach. The staff struggled to find so many charred remains. The bodies were fragmented. "I heard she was still pregnant. That's right. Her wrists and knuckles were badly bent and deformed. She must have tried her best to protect the baby inside her." Alex's face was pale, and his body swayed slightly. If he hadn't leaned against the wall, he would have collapsed. The staff asked, "Are you a family member? Please come over." Alex walked slowly and unsteadily into the room. The two men left, leaving him alone. His tall shadow blocked the light above, his back straight, fists clenched tightly, nails digging into his flesh unknowingly. He looked at my body wrapped in a white cloth and began to speak to himself. "On my way here just now, I suddenly remembered something I never told you before." His cold voice wavered slightly, but not much, just like usual. "We were so young back then. One day I went downstairs to buy something, and a little boy was playing, taking change from his blind grandmother's bowl on the roadside. You rushed over and fought with him. You were so skinny, but you twisted his arm fiercely. In the end, the child couldn't take it and gave you the $1 he had. I heard them say you were an orphan who liked to steal things, but your hair was messy and your lips were bruised. You panted on the ground for a while, then stood up, placed the money in the blind grandmother's bowl, and left calmly. The grandmother didn't see what happened, and the boy couldn't explain. But I saw it. After that, I couldn't stop paying attention to you. Later, someone falsely accused you of stealing class funds. My first instinct was to stand up and defend you. I'll never forget the light in your eyes at that moment. As time went on, your eyes began to focus on me. You blushed when you looked at me and stared at me dreamily. Those years, you stood by me during the school's outstanding student awards. You handed me water when I played basketball, smiled, and gave me flowers when I won the sprint competition, and accompanied me to win the championship in the mathematical Olympiad team. Then Eva appeared. Alex paused, raising his hand to cover his face. It seemed like something was flowing from his fingers. It was clearly me who first noticed him. And he liked me. Why did I like someone else? I thought silently, feeling no ripple, but my heart was filled with deep pain. Yes, it was me who knew you first. Why did it have to end like this? I'm not a lively, cheerful person, but in front of Alex, I always acted like a little son, doing my best to be good to him. I've never been so gentle to anyone, and I never will be again. Anna, when I proposed to you, I truly wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. Anna, please pay attention to me. Pay attention to me, he called repeatedly, but no one answered. He became anxious and irritable, his lips paling as he shouted my name until his throat was hoarse. You clearly said you would never leave me. His voice was strained, as if forced from deep within his throat. His shoulders shook, and his bloodshot eyes looked like a desperate animal with nowhere to turn, terrifying yet pitiable. I quietly watched this grief-stricken man, realizing that perhaps only now did he truly understand that I was dead. After receiving my ashes, Alex secluded himself in his room. I felt my spirit weakening, curling up on the floor wearily and drifting into sleep. In the dimness, I heard Eva persistently knocking on the door, her voice filled with anxiety. Alex, it's been 3 days. Please eat something. Even if she's gone, you can't abandon your body. If she knew, she would be deeply distressed. I awoke from my drowsiness, rubbed my eyes, and glanced at the closed door. It had been 3 days. An hour later, Zachary barged in, kicking the door open roughly. The strong smell of cigarettes and alcohol filled the room as bright lights streamed in, illuminating the man on the floor. Cigarette butts, tilted bottles, and my ashes were scattered around him. He was quietly assembling Lego with his head down, the same set we hadn't finished before. Though only a few days had passed, Alex looked much thinner, with dark stubble on his chin and deep-set eyes. Eva's hoarse voice broke the silence. Hearing the noise, he slowly lifted his eyes, resembling an old, worn-out machine. His red-rimmed eyes were empty and detached. Why haven't you left yet? It would be unpleasant for you when she returns. His voice was dazed as he whispered. Eva's face paled, and she stared at him, unable to believe his words. Tears streamed down her face. Alex frowned, appearing somewhat impatient. Go away! Seeing his lack of response, Eva's eyes filled with embarrassment and she fled in tears. Alex continued building the Lego with a blank expression, seemingly indifferent. If you had done this earlier, Zachary suddenly spoke. Alex's face turned pale, his fingers trembling as the building blocks fell to the ground. He gazed blankly at the building block, lost in thought. Pain and sorrow welled up in his eyes. I had a major argument with her that day, he recalled, and I told her I would take Eva home to care for her. If I hadn't done that, she wouldn't have requested the business trip and wouldn't have been involved in the car accident. On the day of the crash, she took a shortcut and hurried back, rushing to celebrate his birthday. She wanted to announce her pregnancy as a birthday gift. At that moment, what was he doing? Alex lifted his hand to his chest and shut his eyes in agony. He took Eva home, and while she was away, he took a deep breath and began building with Lego again. However, his hands shook, and the blocks slipped from his grasp one after another. Zachary, I regret it. I truly regret it. Zachary stood tall, watching him in silence. His voice was gentle. They say those who betray sincerity will eventually face consequences, but at the cost of her life? Isn't that too tragic? Alex's eyes were red and he was speechless. Zachary sighed deeply. She wouldn't be happy if you continue like this. Alex, you need to move forward with your life no matter what. Alex was determined to hold a funeral for her. The sky was drizzling, casting everything in gray. The entire city seemed enveloped in mist. Standing silently before the tombstone without an umbrella, Alex looked at her black and white photograph engraved on it. The tombstone bore the name of his late wife, Anna. One by one, people placed white chrysanthemums at her grave. After the ceremony, Alex remained motionless as rain streamed down his hair, leaving watery trails on his pale cheeks. Zachary offered him an umbrella. "You know your health isn't good. Any cold could lead to an infection. You need to take care of yourself." Alex discarded the umbrella without showing any emotion. "Then I'd rather succumb to illness," he replied coldly. Sure enough, shortly after that day, Alex became seriously ill. What began as a minor cold escalated into an infection because he refused to take medication, resulting in a half-month hospital stay. At night, the ward was quiet, and Alex stared blankly at the dark outside his window. In a soft, confused voice, he murmured, "Why don't you visit my dreams? You once said you would protect my heart, but now I've made it sick. Can you come back to see me?" Upon discharge, Alex's alcoholism led to another infection, landing him in the intensive care unit. Zachary looked at him with lifeless eyes and slapped him hard. "If you want to die, you might as well let me slap you to death. When you did those awful things, I wanted to hit you for Anna's sake. People are dead now. Who are you showing this to? Are you being self-centered? If your grandmother hadn't kindly asked me to watch over you, I wouldn't have bothered. Anna would have only been disgusted by your self-righteous behavior." Alex's face turned pale as he stared at Zachary blankly. He didn't seem to respond to Zachary's words, but from that day on, he no longer indulged in self-pity or neglected his health. He resumed work calmly and continued his life steadily. However, there was always something odd about him. At night, he would stand on the balcony and smoke for a while. The smoke would slowly blur his face, adding to his loneliness without dispelling the surrounding chill. After smoking, he'd visit the refrigerator to grab a bag of dumplings, only about a dozen left, and cook a few each night. Before bed, he would quietly gaze at her urn and whisper, "Good night." Realizing he no longer needed to follow Alex everywhere, I often felt dizzy and inexplicably sleepy, so I stayed in my room to sleep. Lately, he seemed very busy at work and always returned late. I didn't know what he was occupied with until Zachary called him. "What do you mean by transferring all the company shares to me?" Alex answered calmly. "I just want to take a break for a while." "I heard you donated a large sum to the orphanage. Is it because of her?" Zachary asked. Alex hummed softly, "Consider it my atonement." Zachary was silent for a moment before changing the topic. Eva's ex-husband returned for some reason, and they had a fight. He pushed Eva, causing her to miscarry. Her ex went to the police station to turn himself in. Eva is still in a coma at the hospital, and her condition is very serious. She might not be able to have children in the future. Alex remained expressionless, showing no emotion. "I'm going to sleep. I'll hang up first." A few days later, after finishing work, Alex went to the balcony to smoke as usual. When he returned and saw only a few dumplings left in the fridge, he paused for a moment and then smiled. A relaxed, even joyful smile. I frowned slightly as he didn't eat the dumplings immediately, but went out shopping alone. He visited the maternal and child section, carefully asking the store assistant for baby products, then went downstairs to buy a bunch of roses. When the store clerk asked, "Your girlfriend loves buying flowers for you the most. By the way, I haven't seen her in a while. Where did she go?" Alex stood quietly for a moment before responding, "She went on a business trip." The clerk nodded. "Flowers bought at night aren't very fresh. Come back tomorrow, and I'll give them to you." Alex gently but firmly declined, emphasizing each word. "No, Aunt. I'm going on a business trip tonight, too." The clerk was stunned, covered her mouth, and teased, "I understand you miss your girlfriend, right?" Alex gave a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, his long eyelashes drooping. "Yeah, I miss her. Really, really miss her." Back home, Alex sat at the dining table, quietly and seriously finished the last few dumplings, drank his soup cleanly, then took a shower. He changed into clean clothes, placed the roses and baby items on the bed, and looked down for a moment. After completing these tasks, he took out a fruit knife he had kept nearby and a bottle of sleeping pills. He opened the bottle, poured them out, and began taking them one by one. I trembled, watching him intently as an overwhelming sense of irritation and helplessness surged through me, threatening to crush me. He intended to end his life. Picking up the fruit knife, he pressed it against his wrist and began to make shallow cuts. I screamed, "Why?" The knife clanged to the floor as blood continued to flow from his wound, its scent filling the air. Alex seemed oblivious, staring blankly at me. Surely when people are about to die, they see those they long to see. I miss you so much. I struggled to keep my emotions in check, my voice cold. I don't want to see you at all. Alex's face turned pale. With difficulty, he stood up, picked up the roses and baby clothes from the bed, and forced a flattering smile. This is my gift to you and the child. His fingers nervously rubbed the two items as he half lowered his head uncomfortably. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, so I bought both. I looked at him coldly. We don't need either. His body stiffened slightly, eyebrows furrowed. I know you're still angry with me. I shouldn't have argued with you that day. Eva was just the result of my stubbornness when I was young. I've always loved you truly. Always. Zachary continued. They say if you betray someone's sincerity, you have to pay a price. I'm here to support you, and I was wrong. Please forgive me. Each word felt like a needle piercing my heart, my nerves completely shattered. At that moment, I took a deep breath and suddenly laughed. Do you know what I saw at the end when you had the car accident that day? Alex looked up blankly as I continued, word by word. I saw Eva's spirit. I saw how you cared for her in the hospital, how you held her hand when she feared injections, how you carefully peeled shrimp for her, how she tried to kiss you to test your feelings, and how you loved her. I died with hatred toward you. So, Alex, how dare you ask me to forgive you? Alex's body shook, his face drained of color. He moved his lips but couldn't speak. With deep pain and regret in my eyes, isn't this not enough? I forced a faint smile, looked up, and asked, Alex, on your birthday, were the dumplings you shared with Eva delicious? He was slightly startled, his pupils widening as if he realized something. Fear spread across his eyes. I met your eyes and smiled more brightly because my soul has never left these days, Alex. This isn't an illusion before you die. I've been watching you. Alex froze, as if overwhelmed by an indescribable, deep despair. His lips trembled violently and his eyes were red, almost dripping with blood. I watched you kiss on the sofa I bought, as if no one was around. I watched you eat the celery dumplings I made. I watched you share your secrets, use the game console I gave you, and choose her over me. I looked at him, my heart feeling as if gripped by a heavy hand, nearly suffocating from the pain. I closed my eyes, Alex. You don't deserve to die. You don't deserve to accompany us. You must live, living with endless pain forever. The room was silent. Alex was so still that I couldn't even hear his breathing. After an unknown amount of time, he whispered in a sob, "Okay." Hearing his acceptance felt like invisible chains had been lifted, and my soul felt suddenly lighter. At the edge of my consciousness, I seemed to see Alex clearly. I've transferred all the company shares to Zachary, and I'll donate the remaining money to the orphanage. I have nothing left. I'll live a long life to atone for my sins. I finally close my eyes, preparing to move on to a new world. I hope in the next life I have loving parents, a husband who loves and respects me, and a few beautiful and lovely children. But please, don't let me meet Alex again.